Ladies and gentlemen, this is the day one Bollywood Hungama OTT India Fest. But right now, let me take this opportunity and firstly open the discussion. This is Devzilla presents The Eternal Indian Braveheart, a conversation over coffee with the entire team of Ikkis.
Welcome, and welcome to all of you. And I'm really personally very pleased to have all of you with us, because today we don't just celebrate a film, we're celebrating a life. And you know, I'm gonna start the panel immediately by perhaps Dinesh, you can talk to us a little bit about why this film was such an important and imperative story to tell, and what made you guys decide to tell it.
You know, we have often said that, there are a lot of films you want to make, but the idea is to make the films that you cannot not make. And I would say in 20 years of my career, the story of Arun Khetarpal is probably the best story I ever heard. In fact, I remember a friend of mine, Bini Padda, narrated this film to me in his studio, and I thought he was making it up. I really didn't think that. First of all, he's 21 and he's Indian. And it made me realize what a 21-year-old Indian can do. Then I had the good fortune of going to Pune Horses, which is the oldest regiment. And when I heard stories about him, I had, at that point, around that time, lost my father. And it is a story about what a young 21-year-old can do, and also the relationship between a son that's gone and his father. And I think that resonated, so it became a little personal. So Ikkis became a bit of a zid. We were supposed to make it before COVID, and of course we couldn't shoot a film of this magnitude during COVID, and then we all went our separate ways, but somehow the story kept haunting us. And I'm so glad. I was with Sriram in the office yesterday and I saw the film, and we, whenever we put this film on and we try and watch a particular section, we end up watching the whole film. So I think in my career of 20 years is the best film we've made. And that makes me feel very proud. And I think this one is owed to my father. And that's why it's so special to me.
You know, it's going to be a really special film for a lot of people.
You and me have that in common.
Yeah, that in common, absolutely. Growing up around the Pune Horse, it was sort of magic for us. I think this story was part of all of our DNA. And like you said, you've made this movie over 4 years. And, I've seen the trailers, I've seen some of the rushes, I've heard even the stories. I also saw the Centurion that you people tried to kind of put together. Making a big war movie, what was the I must be crazy budget kind of request that came in at some point, to make a movie of this scale?
I think everything about this film was crazy. Because, a tank battle is easier said than done. And I have this, sweet-looking gentleman sitting on my left, Sriram Raghavan, but he is the purest filmmaker we have in this country. He is relentless and he looks very sweet type, but he's not going to give in. So his only condition was that the war needs to look like a war. And I promise you, the way everyone on this stage has given their life for this film, but when you watch it, you're going to feel you're sitting inside a tank. So this Christmas, what this film will give you is courage. So the way we say it is, this Christmas, gift yourself some courage and go and watch Ikkis. And I feel that every 21-year-old, whether you have him as a parent, a brother, or you are a 21-year-old, by seeing what Arun Khetarpal did, it will change how you look at life. You will be proud to be Indian and you'll be proud to be 21.
That's true. I think the story is sort of absolutely impressive, and it really does get you to kind of get your shackles up and you really feel all
She's
these
the only one
goosebump
who's seen an
moments.
hour of the film, huh?
I have.
She's
I
the only
have.
person I know who's seen an hour of the film. So you should actually tell us.
I have to say, I've also heard the stories from some of the people who were there on the ground, so I think I have that advantage as well. And I think what's fantastic for me was how many moments I was kind of able to point out and say, you know, this is that, because it was exactly like the stories that we've told or the things that we have seen. And so I think that for me was something that really came together. And I think it's obviously worked very well. Sriram and Dinesh, you guys have worked together now after Badlapur on Ikkis. What was that like?
Sriram, you answer that. How was it working with me after Badlapur? Since they are slightly different films.
Yeah, yeah. No, Badlapur was a sort of a relatively small film and all that. But this one actually, you know, I happened to be here by chance, you know, because on a particular day, I had gone to Dinu's office to discuss, basically to reject 3 or 4 stories that had come to me for Badlapur 2, you know. So because I didn't like any of them. And I was sitting there waiting and there was a conversation going on between Dinu and Bini Padda about the film, you know. And I just asked who's doing this story. But I just like the story. So there are 2 stories, and how the stories coincide, how they sort of intersect and all is really what the film is all about. So when you watch the film, I think anybody who sort of keeps asking me, you know, why are you doing this kind of film, when they watch the film, the story will appeal to them. The answer is there, you know. So.
No, I think so much about this film is a story that you can't make up. It really is, you know, a story that defies belief in so many ways. You know, now one of the things, and we were talking about this backstage as well. You know, between managing explosions, wide angles, it's a massive kind of canvas that you're trying to make this film on, and you're also dealing with a very young cast. So what was the most challenging part of actually making the movie?
I mean, the cast was too good because I had no tensions of, you know, what normally happens in certain films I hear, you know, like waiting for actors to land up and all that. So here the cast they were all one bond kind of thing. And also we were shooting in, you know, adverse climates and so on. So we have to bond because we're all suffering the same thing and enjoying the same thing also. So, we used to have like even these tanks don't exist, you know. So they exist only in museums or outside some army cantonment you will see, you know. And inside and all, there might be snakes also, it's like that. So now how do we get these tanks? Either one option was to, you know, make it with, do the film with other tanks, you know, with real today's tanks. But somehow the first people we met in research, they told us, you know, try and get those tanks because the Centurions and the Patterns. And tank battles are like, I mean, how many years now it hardly happens. And this is, I think, the first tank battle we are seeing in the film. So we used to fabricate those tanks, and there was a lot of trial and error in that. I remember once I said, the tanks are ready, and this tank is ready. I said, take a video and send me. And the video they took me is going, and goes and hits something and stops. It's like that. So we start, again, in 15 days, you have to repair it. And so all these things happen.
So I have to say, I'm looking forward to that blooper reel as well. And if there were a blooper reel, who would kind of feature the most on it?
No, I think the blooper, no, but the tanks also
I think Sriram would feature the match. But you know, you said what made you make this film? Isn't it unreal that a 21-year-old boy, when you see the trailer, you get some idea, has done the unthinkable. You know, he's blown up 20 tanks, he's gone one against so many. But no, what surprised me is no one knew this story in the civilians. Because, you know, like when we all heard it, how it surprised us is what we want to do to the viewer. Like whatever you've seen in the trailer is at the tip of the iceberg. When you come in, you'll be consumed and you'll really, really go home, whether it's your brother, you know, your son, you'll tell him that you can do anything. And I have really young kids. And when you see this film, it'll give the youth hope, it'll give the youth direction in a very, very entertaining and engaging manner. Because Arun was actually in the first half very relatable. Because he's trying to be perfect but is flawed. Yeah. You know, and the fact that this is a true story about us that we didn't know is the reason to tell the story.
Oh no, absolutely. I absolutely agree. But that's why I asked that question, because like I said, I wanted to figure out how did you come upon this story, because you're absolutely right. It's very sad, but it's a story we somehow have not seen outside of anybody in the army knows the story.
So
but
we
I
have
think
Bini
we
Pada,
understand.
right? And he's was obsessed with making this film. So he came and, he's been, I think he's also from a boy become a very old man making this film. So, and, Sriram has really grilled him. So Sriram again looks very, but a lot of people, I think, we should hear from Agastya what all Sriram made you go through to make this film.
Uh, First of all, hello and thank you so much for having us here. I think this experience for me is one of a lifetime, and it's really special that you're here with us. For the people who don't know, Captain Malhotra at the time served with Arun Khetarpal. So to have you here and do this with you is a huge honor. So I would first like to thank you for being here, and it's a huge privilege for us at least. So I think this film has meant a lot to me. I signed this film when I was 21, and the film's called Ikkis. That was my first kind of entry into the character, into this world. I was truly blessed that they thought I was capable to do it. It was a huge risk. It was a huge responsibility,
Yeah.
and something I will never take lightly, because when you're dealing with the Indian Army, when you're dealing with such brave people, you must do them the right thing and give it your best. And Sriram sir encouraged me to do that every day. And if I had to discuss what I learned the most from sir, is that if you truly love something and you're obsessed with it, it'll pay off someday. And I don't mean about this film, I mean generally. And that's something that's been so valuable, and I've had such a privilege to work with such brilliant actors. I think Jaideep sir is one of my most favorite actors of all time. And I'm not just saying that because he sat here. Simar's first film, it was a privilege to share the screen with her. She was so confident. And our song, which is just released today, was a blast to shoot with her. I was shocked. It took me 4 songs to learn how to lip sync. But she, from the first song, knew what she was doing. So I think I was surrounded by such professionals and such experts. I felt at ease. And I'm just really grateful I got this opportunity. And hopefully everyone feels the same when they see the film.
No, I think in the rushes that I have seen, like I was telling him, you've literally grown into this role, right? 4 years in the making, you look, you can tell the timelines and you can tell the kind of progression of that. What was your emotional connect with the character? Because it's not like somebody you can have conversation with or...
So, I mean, without trying to sound corny, it's like there's something about being Indian that connects you to the army. It's the same sentiment we all share. If it's the same way we feel when we watch a World Cup cricket final, there's certain emotions that we all share. It doesn't differentiate. So when I first heard it was about a young boy who's a Paramveer Chakra, I was already, that sense of responsibility came in. My first trip to learn about Arun Khetarpal was to Pathankot, as we discussed backstage. And I remember getting there, and his statue was right in front of me. And I looked up, and I swear I got shivers. And I'm not trying to sound a bit weird, but it really, I felt goosebumps in that moment, just seeing the aura of what he had done. You know, being 21 is a very young age. Being young in this country, you usually get told what is right, what is wrong. But here's a boy who came and decided he'll do what he thinks is right. And that conviction to me is deeply inspiring. You know, when we're young, we're not very logical. We think from our heart and we follow our heart. As we get older, we start thinking, okay, maybe I should do it like this. But Arun Khetarpal, for me, didn't follow logic. He followed his heart.
Yes.
And I'll continue the rest of my life trying to live like that, is at least the message I would take from this film.
Yeah, I think, you know, at 21, you are in the most idealistic phase of your life. And I think he had the opportunity and he gave the ultimate sacrifice for it. After Pack-Up, what of Arun do you think has stayed with you?
If I'm being completely honest, I think it's still with me. And I'm not just saying this because it's a great promotional thing to say. I truly mean that. And that I have to credit two people majorly, Sriram sir and Bini Padda, as he mentioned earlier. They enforced the idea of Arun Khetarpal to me so deeply that, as sir said, we took his blessings before each shot. And just to get it right for him. I don't think anyone here, of course, we would love for the film to do well, but the first person we would want a thumbs up from was his family, his brother, who saw the film. and anyone involved. So that to us is way more important than what the result or the numbers or anything else is.
You know, so what's amazing is Mukesh sir saw the film, and the first time he had met Agastya was maybe not the best meeting, where he said, how will he do the film? What has he done? You know, and for him to see the film, and as you know, there's no footage of Arun Khetarpal anywhere. There's some excerpts of his voice. And when he saw the film, you know, there's a small video which will come out in a bit where he looked at that same man looking at him and saying, you know, there's such an uncanny similarity. So I think the fact that he was 21 really helped him. And visually, and also when you spend some time with Agastya, you'll realize that he's a lot in his belief system like Arun Khetarpal. You know, in a very small way. He's done much larger things. But I think that there's a common thread in all 21-year-olds where they can dream big and they don't have the concept of fear. Yes. Life has not caught up with them there. And I think that is clearly visible in this film. Like, you know, I think I told Agastya, and I think after 15 years I felt that I said I really, really like this film. And last night I told them that I'm going to really cry if this film doesn't do well. And not because it's expensive, but because it means so much to me. And I had to say this to Jaidip. My wife saw some sections of the film, and I know, sir, you've done a lot of work, and we've never met on this film for the last couple of months, and we've actually met today. Everyone knows Jaideep's a phenomenal actor, but you have to see how his part is walking such a thin line.
It is such a thin line, you know.
And his eyes, sir, we got a lot of women are going to compliment your eyes in this film, but he is incredible. He is what ties this film together, and I think we need to give him a round of applause for just being him, Jaidip being Jaidip. Thank you for doing this, sir.
You know, actually, I'm going to take a cue from there and ask you, Jaidip, like Dinu said, it is a very nuanced role because there's pride in who the commander himself was, but also guilt that he will carry, or, you know, the mixed emotion that he will carry for his entire time about Arun, simply because Arun was the Fakhre Hind, right? So how did you kind of bring that to the character? How did you kind of walk that tightrope?
पहले तो कुछ चीज़ें जोड़ना चाहूँगा इस चीज़ में. मैं बहुत सारे लोग जानते हैं, सर्वे जानते हैं, अगस्त्य जानते हैं कि मैं फौजी बनना चाहता था. So I have been there, you know. There is this place called, how my first introduction with Khetarpal. I was there on a peeping ceremony, passing out parade ceremony, and the peeping ceremony, आप श्योर बहुत सारे लोगों ने देखा होगा जहाँ सारे ऑफिसर्स ऐसे सीढ़ियों पे खड़े होते हैं. Then they अपनी जो कैप होती है वो हवा में उछालते हैं, then the peeping ceremony starts. So the name is Khetarpal there, the Khetarpal Auditorium in IMA. So in 1999, I think, if I'm not wrong, somewhere around 2000, I went there and I saw that name that big. So I asked my friend who was passing out from IMA that, who's that guy? So that was my first introduction to Arun Khetarpal. That was 2000. So this is 2024 and army is always close. Then I went to Nagar long back, like 7, 8, 10 years back, because again that boy, that friend of mine, that time boy of course 19 and a half years old, he joined armed forces, basically armored. So that time 54, 10, whatever. So I saw again Arun Khetarpal again and again, because now Ahmednagar is a
yes, it's home away from home,
all
armored divisions, yes.
So that was the introduction to Arun Khetarpal, and the film came to me and I like, ek second, what I'm going to do? Sir told me about this character who's playing, two different timeline, two different age, and I got scared because in my mind it is very important to cast right people in this kind of film, but he was very adamant. उनको लगा कि मैं बूढ़ा होने से कतरा रहा हूँ, बट मैं डरा हुआ था सर कि मैं वो प्ले कर पाऊँगा कि नहीं प्ले कर पाऊँगा, बिकॉज एज वी ऑल नो हमने कभी वॉर नहीं देखी है. और एक छोटी चीज़ जब बात कर रहे थे कि अरुण खेतरपाल के बारे में, आई डोंट नो कि कितने लोगों के घर में कोई एक फौजी है, चाहे वो किसी भी पोस्ट पे हो. आई थिंक जब कोई आपका अपना उस सरहद पे खड़ा होता है ना, और जो फील आपको होता है जब वॉर होती है, ये मैं भी नहीं जानता, लेकिन बहुत क्लोज दोस्त रहे हैं जिनको हमने कारगिल में खोया है, बहुत ही क्लोज, और जिसका अपना कोई ब्लड का वहाँ खड़ा होता है ना, आई डोंट थिंक कि कोई भी इमेजिन कर सकता कि 21 साल के लड़के में इतनी बहादुरी, इतना निडरता कैसे होती है, मुझे समझ में नहीं आता. I went to Nagar while I was trying to figure out this character of mine in the film. There was a quote जो कि पाकिस्तानी आर्मी ऑफिसर्स का है, उस बंदे का जो अरुण के साथ लड़ रहा था, कि जस्ट अ जिस्ट if I'm taking that day between 13 lancers and victory there was a boy of 21 years old.
Yes.
That was the importance.
Yes.
That you could feel कि एक ऑफिसर जो वहां बैठा था,
Yes.
उसने बोला कि उस दिन उस जीत में और 13 लांसेस के बीच में जो जगह थी, वहां एक लड़का खड़ा था जो सिर्फ 21 साल का था. So you know the importance of that story to be told to the world. We knew, and the other part I didn't know. Sir told me and I was like mesmerized by it, and I hope कि ये फिल्म लोगों तक पहुंचे. उसका जैसे सर ने बोला कि हम परेशान होंगे इस फिल्म को कि अगर वो नहीं पहुंची अपनी जगह पे, क्योंकि ये कहानी बताई जानी बहुत ज़रूरी है.
हाँ.
ये सुनना सबको बहुत ज़रूरी है, जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि उस दौर में क्या हुआ था उस वक्त जब एक लड़का, उसकी एक बहुत सुंदर सी लाइन है जो आप फिल्मों में सुनोगे, माय गन इज स्टिल वर्किंग सर. आगे की कहानी फिल्म में देखिएगा.
आ चुका है ट्रेलर में, इसको बोलते हैं. बोलो भाई, क्या लाइन थी वो? My gun is still working. What was the line from the trailer?
No, sir, I will not abandon my tank. My gun is still working. I'll get these so-and-sos.
And I think that's actually what's on the recording, right?
That's the only line we had in the
That's the
film.
only recorded line we have, like
Yeah.
Arun's voice.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
Because
uncanny.
the rest of
Seriously.
it is, I think, Hanut. Yeah. So, you know, we've seen you do a very intense role in Family Man Season 3. Congratulations. It's been a great new season. If you had to say who on the set was kind of bringing that level of intensity to the set, who was it?
With me, there was a legend, Dharamji. I don't know the intensity, I don't know the humor. Everything he was doing on set, off set was so amazing. I'm sure everybody agrees with this. कि जब वो सेट पे आते थे, जिस तरह के माहौल में वो सबको इतना इजी करते थे, और जो रोल वो प्ले कर रहे हैं उस फिल्म में, इट इज़ नॉट ईजी, इट इज़ वे टू डिफ़िकल्ट. ये बहुत कम लोगों को समझ में आएगी ये बात, क्योंकि वो कभी नहीं उस सिचुएशन में होंगे. टू प्ले अरुण खेतरपाल्स फादर एंड हिमसेल्फ ही वाज अ आर्मी पर्सन. सो वो जो एक बहुत थिन लाइन होती है दुख को जज्ब कर लेने में और उसको बयान करने के बीच की जो जगह होती है ना खाली, वो धर्म जी ने कमाल निभाई. तो मेरे लिए वो बहुत स्पेशल मोमेंट्स हैं जब उनके साथ मैंने वो फिल्म की.
I can imagine. I'm going to ask Simar a question before I think we can maybe perhaps talk about Dharamji a little bit more. Tell me what it was like for you to play this role. How did you find your emotional anchor? It's a story of war, and yet you're telling the love part of the story.
I think the love part of the story. This movie is about, of course, Arun Khetarpal, and I think the fact that he was just 21 years old and he had so much clarity in his decisions and what he wanted to do. I think there's a lovely quote: "A country reveals itself not just by the way, not just by the people it produces, but also by the men it remembers." So I think this movie, to be a part of such a movie that tributes such a legend, I feel like that itself is such an honor. And I think I wouldn't have to be able to do a movie with, of course, our main captain, with Sriram sir, with the owner of the ship, with Dinu sir, and of course Agastya and Jaidip sir, to be a part of a movie with Dharamji. I think it's all it's very special. It's a very special movie. The name itself, it's Ikkis, which means a lot to me personally because it's my nani's birthday. And just a few months before signing this movie, I had lost her. And so somewhere it felt like it was a sign that when this movie came and that the name was Ikkis, तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि कहीं ना कहीं it was Nani sort of, giving me her blessing कि this
film
was...
is set in the 70s, right? The late 60s and 70s. How did you prepare for being in what is a totally different time?
It was, I think, one of the most fun things of this. It was a collaborative effort, of course. The hair, the makeup team, everyone, Sriram sir, Pooja ma'am, they all helped us with, sir used to always wear these amazing t-shirts with his favorite movies, and I think one of them was Tere Ghar Ke Samne, and there were other movies that he had told me to watch, Aradhana, and I used to also I made a playlist for my character, Kiran, and it was just all these songs that we all know and love from that era. And so I used to, while getting ready, I would listen to those songs, and of course we did workshops and a lot of other things which really helped me get into that zone. And there was also, I think I noticed something about movies back then and the love, about how it was so soft and unspoken, and there was this longing in it and about it, which I think is very special. तो मुझे लगता है कि I think that that's what we try to do and just get that essence of it.
I think in some of the scenes that I was able to see, it really does come through, and it's hard, finding love in those situations and then being apart.
You were talking about Simar's casting, and I remember the day we cast her, and we were all sitting together, and I think you said, how did she go? She's from that time. She's actually not from today. And if you just look, not just visually, but also who she is as a person, and today's youth surprises you, they're actually more organic than anyone else. So they're actually going backwards. So I think the film has chosen people, like she said about her nani, but what will actually give you an insight that one of my favorite sections in the film is the chapter at NDA, where their romance blossoms.
I think I'd love to get maybe a story from each of you about working with the legend.
So, I mean, this story, when I heard it in 2018, and I decided to do this film, so there is this character of Arun's father. Even before I had cast Arun, I had met Agastya, I had met Dharmendra, and I had narrated the story to him. And he loved the story, he really connected with it. After that, I made another film, because this was taking time, there was COVID and all that. And he used to call me, every week, are you making this film? Are you still making it with me and all that? So I promised him, of course, we are making it with you. And so for me, it's like I'm, in a sense, blessed that I got to work with him and spend so much time with him. And my only regret is, of course, that he couldn't see the whole film. He saw about 70% of it. But he would have loved watching the whole film. And I hope he's watching it up there.
For me, it's very emotional because Dharamji worked with 4 generations of my family. He worked with my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and I had the privilege to share screen space with him. As Sir said, it's a huge privilege, and as he shared, I'm extremely sad that he couldn't see the love he deserves for this film, and I mean it's emotional for all of us.
So I had the good fortune of working with him twice, and I think with Teri Baaton Mein and now Ikkis, and I think, I think he's the last of his kind. I feel a legend like him, who you speak to anybody, they only have love for him, and I'll tell you why. He's interested in you. So I'll tell you a story where I saw him waiting outside a lift, and he was talking with the lift man, and I don't think in our busy lives we are that interested in his story. He's earned that love by actually caring about people. And I think the first time I met him, I clearly remember it was in a makeup van and he was talking to me. And though he was doing Teri Baaton Mein, he was only interested in Ikkis. And he loved this story because it also was a story about going back to your pin, right? Which for any person who has left his village or his home and come to a city to work, and he gets a chance to go back, there's nothing better, and all you hear from them is stories about that. And it's so surprising that, you know, he did this poem for the film. So I feel the world will miss people like that because, you know, they're not made anymore. And I think all the lives he's touched are better human beings. So more than a film, more than anything else, I think we'll miss the energy he brought. Yeah.
Jaideep, tell us a little bit more about, you know, because you actually ended up getting a lot of sort of time
I think मैं ये
working
कह
with
सकता हूँ
him.
कि ऑन स्क्रीन श्याम सर ने जितना वक्त बिताया मैं एक एक्टर हूँ इस फिल्म में जिनके सबसे ज़्यादा सीन उनके साथ हैं और सर का दिनू सर ने एकदम सही बात बोली कि वो उनको इतना प्यार इसलिए मिला क्योंकि वो सबको उतना ही प्यार देते थे। मैं बहुत ज़्यादा पता नहीं भी कुछ कह पाऊँगा नहीं कह पाऊँगा, बट मैंने उन हाथों को जितने भी दिन हमने शूट किया महसूस किया है, चलते वक्त, उठते वक्त, बैठते वक्त, उन हाथों को यहाँ महसूस करता हूँ मैं आज भी। एक बार मुझे ऐसे कुछ बैठे थे, हम कुछ कहानी पूछ रहा था मैं उनसे, सडनली पता नहीं उनको क्या, उन्होंने मेरे ऐसे सर मुँह पे हाथ रखा और बोला कितना सोना मुंडा है तू। मैं ऐसा हो गया था कि अगर धर्म जी मुझे बोल रहे हैं कि मैं सुंदर आदमी हूँ तो फिर दुनिया के किसी और इंसान की ज़रूरत नहीं है मुझे। तो इतने प्यारे कहानियाँ सुनाते थे, पोइट्री सुनाते थे। और just to give you a hint of his one-liner humor, there was a scene I was driving and it was very technical shot. तो मैं उतरा, फिर वो एक एडी पीछे लेके आया, उसने टाइम लगा दिया। नेक्स्ट टाइम आई सेड कि यार मैं खुद गाड़ी पीछे ले जाऊंगा। वो लगाया, मैंने वापस आ गया। दो तीन बार वो शॉट हुआ। फाइनली वो बोलते हैं कि जब जैसे ही शॉट हुआ ओके हो गया तब बोलते हैं अब पुत्र हुण तैनू ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस मिल जाना। मैं ऐसा हो गया था कि सोचो ये इंसान अभी मुझे बोल रही, इतने उस वक्त वो थोड़े बीमार भी थे। उस बीमारी में भी उनको एक ह्यूमर उनके दिमाग में आया कि तूने ये इतनी बार आगे पीछे करके सही जगह पे लेके आया ना, अब तुझे ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस मिल जाएगा। सो ही वाज अमेजिंग।
Well, I think that's it from us. I want to personally and on behalf of the entire Pune Horse Regiment thank each of you, not only for telling the story, but telling it with respect and history and responsibility. And 25th December, we're all looking forward to it, and I hope all of us can go out there and get inspired and feel what it's like to be 21.
Just before we end, I wanted to thank you for hosting us, first of all, and also bring attention to all the other soldiers who fought alongside Arun Khetarpal as well. Because he was young and what he did was brave, we tend to overlook the bravery of the soldiers around him as well. And without him and without your father, I don't think what he did would have been possible. So I just want to thank, and I'm not just talking about Arun Khetarpal, I'm talking about his tank driver, his loader, his gunner, and everyone involved in the Pune Horse Regiment and the infantry. So there was a lot of people that I think we need to give gratitude to, and starting with your father.
But genuinely, it's an honor to have this panel with you. Yeah, we understand that.
Can we please have a huge round of applause for our moderator, Raunaq?